The wonderful joys of boating in poor weather. Really not something I would recommend to anyone ever, and today we're going to talk a little bit about that, getting out there when conditions aren't ideal. Welcome back, crew, to this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. Now, one of the reasons I always find this to be one of the most boneheaded moves in boating is there are so many sources out there that you can use to check the weather to see what kind of conditions you're going to be facing, which should prevent you from ever finding yourself in a situation like this. Now, I can hear it in the comments already, BG, I'm not a fair weather boater. If I'm going out there and I'm going boating, I don't care what the conditions are, but you should always second guess it and make sure that when you're going out, you're putting yourself in a safe position, because poor weather can really affect a lot of things. Now, I do understand some people aren't going to have an option. If the weather's poor, some of these guys are going to have to get out there and just battle it anyway, kind of like our commercial boys. These guys, it's their job. It doesn't matter if the weather's good or bad. They're going to have to find a way to get out there and get the job done. Kind of like commercial salvage operations like we see here, and of course commercial fishermen as well. Many times they're limited to a season, so it doesn't matter what the weather is, they got to get out and go. Now, the local boys that we see, a lot of the times it's going to be those fishermen who get out there as well in poor weather. They've had that fishing trip planned for weeks. It doesn't matter if the weather's poor, they're getting out there and doing it anyway. And then of course the old blow boys, well, for whatever reason, this is one of the more common ones we see out there in poor weather. We do Boating News of the Week on this channel on Wednesdays, and if you haven't checked that one out, be sure to stop by on a Wednesday and see it. But on that portion of this channel, we talk about recent incidents, things that have happened out on the water. And one of the most common ones we see of boaters in peril and just absolutely horrible conditions out on the water is going to be sailors finding themselves out there offshore in 10 to 20 foot seas with 40 to 50 mile an hour winds and finding themselves in situations like this. How this boat doesn't flip over is beyond me. Now, why we catch so many sailboats out in conditions like this really is beyond me. Now, I'm not a sailor, so let me know in the comments below if there's a reason that you would know they would be out here. But the reality is, just from common sense perspective to me, it seems like a sailboat would be the most limited in its operations in heavy weather. Typically, they're underpowered to be able to handle something like this just by power alone, and obviously the use of their sails is going to be limited in heavy seas and high wind conditions. So if you know there's poor weather coming in, what should you do? Well, go ahead and get in that marina and get ready to ride it out. Now, don't wait until that last second to get into the marina. You want to get in there early. If you wait till the last second, you might run into a rush of boaters all trying to cram in at the same time, and that can lead to some bad spots. Now, if you do decide to ride that weather out in a marina, do yourself a favor and don't just pick any marina. Make sure you pick a marina that is adequately equipped to handle and support your vessel during that poor weather. If you wind up picking a marina that doesn't have the proper protection for the weather you're about to face, you actually could be thinking you're making the right choice by bringing your boat in and tying it up, only to find out later that you're going to return to your vessel and it's going to have more damage than it might have had if you'd have just left it offshore. This is one of the reasons why we see so many commercial vessels actually go offshore and battle the conditions versus staying in port, because they know they'll fare better offshore than they will being beat against a concrete wall at a commercial port. Now, just leaving your boat in a marina and praying for the best still will not always be the best idea. Anytime you're evaluating what's going to happen with weather, you need to look at the whole picture, the whole situation as to what you might be dealing with. So for example, if your boat's in a marina on one of your local river systems that happens to be susceptible to flooding, maybe leaving your boat there isn't the best plan. I mean, not always leaving a boat in a marina will be your best choice. Many times, you may just want to go ahead and pull that boat out of the water and let it sit on dry land. So at least no matter what, you kind of know where the boat is and you don't show back up to your marina after all the storms have passed and, well, your boat's gone. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like Adam Coolidge, Bethany Adele, Brett Reeder, Chris Anderson, Defense Submarina, Greystone Harbor, Mario, and Yoshi Kramer did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.